Your chart tells a story of a modern sage disguised as a strategist. Your soul chose this incarnation to master the art of integration, merging intellect with intuition, structure with spirit, and with material achievement, but yet with metaphysical awareness. You have your ascendant sign in Gemini, the cosmic twins. So within Jyotish astrology, your rising sign is so much more than just personality. It's your gateway to this incarnation. It reveals key insights into your health, your wealth patterns, and your career path, as well as what aspects of the body will be influenced, because our ascendant also represents the vehicle for our soul while it is traveling through this life. And while this is not a wealth activation reading, I will touch on some of the guiding factors here because they are interwoven and inseparable. So what's interesting about your chart is Jupiter sits with your ascendant in the first house. I have seen this before, and yet it's not common, but it does often correspond to the wisdompreneur archetype. Why? Well, this is because Jupiter is guru. Jupiter is benevolent and he represents our higher knowledge. And wherever there is Jupiter, Jupiter expands, dials up, and amplifies the energies of whomever he is sitting with or whatever house he is with. Or what that house represents. So in your case, this is your ascendant. He's sitting with your ascendant. So this is a conjunction. In Jyotish, we could almost say that this conjunction is fated or inseparable, making this conjunction heavily influential on your mind-body system as almost like an instrument of Dharma. When you're really listening and attuned with your body, it is going to be communicating to you in very powerful ways. Your Gemini ascendant gives you a curious, agile intellect, a natural talent for communication, networking, and learning through experience, and a need to connect and interact and synthesize information rather than be isolated or alone for too long. Therefore, we could say that some of the guiding forces of your began with curiosity, pulling you into more communication. Your chart is also loaded with Capricorn energy. Capricorn, you have a Capricorn stellium, in fact. And a stellium is 3 planets, which are all sitting in your 8th house. So here, this energy or this influence speaks of you being a bridge between worlds, the rational and the mystical. So here, this could be even merging finance with the metaphysical, spiritual, esoterics, and revealing some of the hidden knowledge around wealth energetics and tying it into, say, for example, the laws of the universe. This is why you move between strategy and your soul's work, because you're here to translate the invisible and merge it or anchor it into practical application. Your Mercury, so this is also in Capricorn, and it sits alongside the sun, but we must remember that the Lord of your ascendant is Mercury. So they are constantly communicating. This is why I say that your body is an instrument of communication. But with Capricorn and Mercury alongside Sun and Venus sitting in this house, it's all very constructive energy. So there's discipline and there's mastery in the unseen realms. And here it's influencing your soul to design and build very uniquely and differently, not just systems of enterprise, but almost frameworks for consciousness, new models of prosperity that are ethical and intelligent and energetically aligned. And this is because Jupiter, guru of wisdom, is aspecting your ascendant and is aspects directly from Gemini, your path, which is inherently philosophical and teaching orientated. So you're not here merely to advise, you're here to also illuminate what is hidden and to guide others through this complexity. But yet you can do it with clarity and compassion, which is second to none, and very fast as well. Your Dharma thrives where intellect meets service. This is due to your Ketu being in Virgo, which is very much a planet of service and repetition. Repetition for mastery. So mentoring, guiding, creating strong foundations and conscious enterprises where you are, in fact, more satisfied when there's a higher purpose interwoven into these more traditional institutions. You were born under this very rare and powerful blessings with, Jupiter sitting there with your ascendant. So this placement, it really does infuse your entire being with the vibration of wisdom and faith and expansion. So you can walk through life with this innate sense that there is something higher guiding you and pulling you towards a journey, even of mastery, even when it feels uncertain or even when there's fluctuations. Jupiter sitting with your ascendant makes you naturally inspiring, magnetic, and generous. And you radiate a quiet, humble optimism and confidence. People can sense in you that there is a possibility of growth and trust and larger vision when they work with you. You're pragmatic and yet positive, but it's not naive positivity. It's more calculated because your ascendant in Gemini expresses with Jupiter through communication and knowledge and curiosity. So you've really gone deep into things. Unlike a lot of Gemini energy that can just scratch the surface, your chart keeps pulling you down and in to really become a lot more masterful, not just with ideas, but influencing entire systems and structures. So I hope that resonates. When we have this combination in a chart, I would say that your presence itself carries a very informative energy. So even casual conversations often spark illumination for others. And this is why people are drawn to your counsel, because you awaken in them the remembrance that wisdom is not outside of them. It's within them and also within their own unique structure, or their own unique archetype. This is why you recognize and appreciate the various archetypes of people's blueprints, because you understand through some of your Aquarius house placement, which is ruling your ninth house of higher learning, that there are systems and structures, but you also have appreciation for the individual. So here, with Jupiter and your ascendant, again, circling back, your entire life becomes a journey of embodying truth, not just knowing or living, not just like knowing, but really living an embodied version of your philosophies is when you start to thrive. You are here to lead by example, not through authority and status, although these are quite possible that you navigate yourself up step by step into these positions. But you're most secure when you're living through integrity of your being. Your words carry more weight when they're aligned with your lived experience and when your life itself becomes the teaching to you. It's very humbling, actually. With Jupiter's expansive light in your first house, you'll always grow through your faith and your higher learning and with the generosity of your spirit. And when you share from this place, abundance will start to nourish and support your body, and knowledge will flow in. When you mentor others is when you begin to thrive and come into more balance with your health as well. Your Dharma is awakened through service, through teaching, through guiding, and through showing others that prosperity and purpose are not in opposites. They are two sides of the same truth. Because your Gemini ascendant is a living bridge between worlds. So yeah, you really can bring this logic and this intuition and this structure and this freedom and really merge these dualities. I mentioned that your ascendant in Gemini or in Jyotish astrology, it rules the body. So for Gemini, this does rule the lungs. So the breath, it is an element of air after all. And also the nervous system and the arms and the shoulders and not so much a little bit the hands. Yeah, the hands as well. So these are all instruments of exchange, yeah? Inhale, exhale, forward, back movement. Therefore, you're wired for the breath of energy and transmission and for information to flow through you and circulate through you. Your body learns through responsiveness and rhythm. If you become too stagnant or complacent, you'll get out of balance. But yet, when you're attuned with your breath, it can become a messenger for creating more equanimity. But yet, if you're scattered, your nervous system will become overactive, reflecting some of the mind's restlessness. But restlessness isn't always a bad sign. Restlessness, again, is communicating to us that it desires us to move in a certain direction and anchor into that. So wherever there is dialogue and creativity, you're going to thrive. Stillness without curiosity can feel suffocating to you potentially. So your path is really to cultivate like an inner stillness, but yet with movement. So things like qigong would be quite nourishing to your system, rather than the absence of movement itself, like being moving in your meditations. And here you'll find more truth through contrasts of masculine and feminine and intellect and emotion, the spiritual and the material, until you realize that they are not separate. You're here to embody this oneness through diversity. Now I'm going to go straight over to the Saturn placement in your chart. Why? Because Saturn is often our karmic master in this life. He also heavily influences how we ground into our Dharma. And I believe that when we embrace our karmas, as hard as they are, when we're in full acceptance, only then can we really elevate our Dharma and start to levitate in the blessings of the other side of our life, of what is here to sustain us and support us, because our karmas help us to develop in ways that have been perhaps restrictive and unfair at times. So Saturn is not unkind, not as unkind as what everyone thinks. For you, your Saturn is in Leo. Now here we have the humble king energy. And your Saturn in Leo is sitting in your third house. Naturally, Leo is a sign of creativity, expression, media, vulnerability, courage, and creativity, and leadership. So it's leading regardless of the vulnerabilities. It's leading through authenticity. Saturn represents discipline, humility, responsibility, so being response-able. And he also represents Kala, which is time. And when Saturn enters Leo in a person's chart, the teacher is one of limitation and walks into the palace, which walks slowly into the palace of self-expression. The influence here is a soul that learned to mature in its power and to express authority not through dominance, but through integrity and structure and humility and service. So you're learning to lead from the heart, but with patience and restraint and wisdom that's been hard earned. Our third house also represents the phase of adolescence and siblings and our communication style. So it gets active when we move around or we have short bursts of travel as well. Moving around within one's own region, it can really activate more of the voice and the communication and the teaching. Early in life, you may have felt like there was a fear of being seen or even a suppression of one's voice or courage. There can be a sense of needing to earn the right to speak, earn the right at the table and to lead. Even when natural talent is present, and it is present, you came in with a lot of natural talent, refined talent. So just to recap on that again, third house is communication, courage, and skill building. It governs how we learn and how we teach and how we take initiative. But Saturn here gives us a serious mind, or gives you a serious mind with structured thought. But yet the influence of your Mercury and your Gemini brings more speed to measured communication, preferring depth over noise. There is also an inner critic that refines how you speak or how you teach and gives you a lifelong lessons around courage and confidence and really trusting your own voice. It can make you your own harshest teacher and pushing you into mastering communication tools with creative flair as well. So perhaps this is writing or speaking, and teaching until your words carry weight. You were never meant to just speak for attention. There's wisdom to impart from your embodied experiences. From the third house, your Saturn is aspecting your Gemini ascendant, which means your identity and your expression must mature through discipline and through patience and lived experience. This calms down the spontaneity of Gemini and brings it into more focus and more depth than other Gemini ascendants. And this grounding is very essential to your path. It turns you into curiosity, into more transformational knowledge rather than distraction. So in Dharmic terms, it's the signature of the teacher and the writer and the strategist whose authority grows over time, and not just through self-promotion. But yeah, it is important for you to stand in your radiance and stand in your power through consistent measures and lived truth. Because Saturn is our karmic master, and here in your chart, he forms a karmic triangle. So with Mars in the second, and then with Sun, Mercury, and Venus also in Capricorn in the 8th house. So this creates a deep refinement with courage and value and truth. So urging you to speak from embodied wisdom, emotional truth, not from fear or flamboyancy. Saturn is also aspecting the 9th house. So 9th house is part of your Dharmic Trikona. We have 1st, 5th, and 9th. And for you, your 9th house is ruled by Aquarius. So Aquarius is able to naturally expand your networks and your ability to share philosophical insight. This gives you a long arc Dharma. The older you get, the more respected and spiritually grounded your words become. Its conjunction with Leo, the Leo Aquarius axis, also suggests that your communication can have a collective impact. And what you say will ripple into communities, networks, and systems to change the outdated for the better. Okay, so now moving into the 2nd house where you have your Mars in Cancer. So Mars is the planet of drive and ambition, and it's how we go about activating and connecting with our desires. Mars in Cancer gives you a drive to protect, to nurture, to hold on. It's quite an attached energy. But it's also here in the house of this. The 2nd house represents our resources, so our bank and old systems, money, voice, values. You bring Mars here in Cancer. And what is Cancer? Cancer is ruled by the moon. So there may have been some influences in this area of finance, wealth, building, connections with the mother, or being influenced by the mother in this life, or learning financial systems from the mum, or even receiving money from mother. But also it represents some fluctuations, because Cancer is actually ruled by the moon. So the moon is the emotional mind, and it's the emotional body. And when you have Cancer sitting here in Mars, your relationship, because moon is a relationship to wealth, is very attuned, but it is never just material. So you have a great power to accumulate through magnetism, much like the moon when it is in relationship with others that are working with money and wealth. So advisory, it's all is reflective here. You don't chase accumulation, you channel emotion and relationship into value. So you can build security by nurturing others and by infusing what you do with care and sensitivity and a sense of belonging. This is where things really open up for you. Okay, so let's look at your Atma Karaka. So in Jyotish, your Atma Karaka is the planet and sign in one's chart that has the highest of karmas. What's really interesting about your chart is all of your degrees are sitting around about 20 and under. So it's quite difficult to find a strong Atma Karaka, a highest karma planet, but we see yours is in Venus and it's combust the sun. So that means your Venus energy is a little bit weaker than the sun, and it's hidden, or it's hidden behind the sun, the flare of the sun when you came into this world. And what this shows is that your soul's highest lesson is to spiritualize structures. So I hope this resonates with you. You can also bring beauty into structure and heart into systems to elevate the physical world rather than escape it. It's about creating prosperity that feels ethical, refined, and enduring, because this is what Venus does. Venus is actually one of our wealth indicators, and it's also indicative of one's desire. And, Capricorn is old world institutions. So seeing a person work in very highly developed and highly structured institutions of wealth, but also you bring a refinement to this matrix. With Mars in Cancer directly opposing Mercury in Capricorn in the 8th, you are both it forms a grand karmic trine. So this grand tata is between them all, especially between Rahu and Ketu. So what is Rahu and Ketu? Rahu is your north node and Ketu is your south node. So you came in embodying the Ketu energy already mastered past life. What's hugely significant in your chart is that your Virgo in Ketu is sitting in the 4th house and your Rahu in Pisces is sitting in your 10th house of career. So there's a strong soul evolution here for you in this life. Okay, so let's unpack this carefully because this configuration is one of the deepest signatures in your chart. Yeah, it's really about the mind learning to integrate the rational and the intuitive. So the practical and the mystical, the material and the metaphysical. This axis, it really links action, speech, security, Mars in the 2nd, intellect, analysis, transformation, Mercury in the 8th, emotional evolution and inner safety, Rahu in the 4th, the house of happiness, the house of home, and then surrendering into divine purpose, Ketu in the 10th, expressing itself as Pisces, where Pisces wants to dismantle structures, wants to be fluid in structures, wants to be more dreamlike, or in the higher mind, the higher intuitive mind. So what we see here is not just conflict. It's kind of like this inner tension between human and divine intelligence, between doing and allowing, between making life happen and letting it unfold. Okay, so we've also got Mercury in the 8th and Mars opposition, and this reflects again a bit of a internal battle between logic and emotion. But this is a beautiful inner polarity in your chart. Nothing is by mistake, it is all by design, and it gives you a kind of friction that keeps you propelling forward. It keeps you evolving because Mars in Cancer is ruled by the moon. It wants to act from emotion and defensiveness and protect and nurture. And, Mercury in Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, where it wants to analyze and bring structure and some level of control, wants to create security. So this creates this constant dialogue in the psyche, which is, do I follow my feelings or do I follow my logic? In actuality, this is brilliant for strategy because you're able to see things from multiple sides. And if you're really refining this in this life, this duality becomes brilliance. It becomes mastery and is great if you feel the pulse of risk. And then it's like you can feel into the pulse of risk and then you can feel into the security of structures. But also, it could get emotionally exhausting if you're not tending to your health and to your home and, pulling back and staying grounded because your nervous system can be toggling along between analysis and empathy. So when integrated, this really does become your genius. I see this reflected in your chart that you're able to translate the invisible energies of the 8th house into practical frameworks, Mercury in Capricorn. So this is where you could be developing a course, an audio course, speaking at workshops, being brave, being courageous, hosting conferences, building out something where you're able to systemize your knowledge and it'll naturally find your networks because Aquarius is driving this information it's pulling it into natural community. So you can use the intuitive downloads of your Mars in Cancer and really alchemize this emotion and bring it into a place of high level advisory. I see your chart literally being a bridge between practical prosperity and esoteric knowledge. And this is what your Dharma is conveying. Now, to circle back to the 10th house just for a moment, what is the 10th house? This is public service. This is career. Okay, it's originally ruled by Capricorn, but here we've actually got Ketu. So this is really interesting because you came in already with this like embodied intuitive awareness, like you've mastered so much in a past life. These people have often been, monks or of a high level spiritual lineage. And Pisces is a water sign. So it does bring a certain element of fluidity and sensitivity. It's really a stunning placement, though, because with Venus sitting underneath all of this, you're able to harmonize your left and right hemispheres and your masculine and your feminine for more of your human evolution. So, yeah, merging the discerning intellect with that mystical wisdom. I feel like your Dharma really is to build, to synergize, and where others might compartmentalize. After you've been through all of your initiations, you're able to synergize information and pour this into the world, and it will land where it needs to land, and you will navigate your life with a great level of intuition, which is quite accurate if you're tending to the body's needs, tending to your health, tending to your home. So where others may, with a lot of Capricorn placement, may seek, control, your soul's seeking coherence. And that's why, even though you've got a good level of the ability to succeed in the financial institutions and investment, I believe that your deeper fulfillment will only come when your work serves your soul's evolution of pouring wisdom forward into these old world structures. So in short, your Mars gives you voice, protection, and helps you create value. Your Mercury in the 8th gives you a depth of going into esoteric research, also pattern recognition and wisdom in the invisible world, in what's hidden, or perhaps what other people are hiding. Your Rahu in the 4th, so remember this is the North Node, and it's sitting in your house of emotions and home and the mother and happiness. It gives you a grounded understanding and a refinement, and it's because it's in Virgo, and Virgo likes things to be refined and repeated over time. It's also very analytical, and Rahu gives us this. Wherever we have Rahu also conceals an element of our genius. It conceals an element of our brilliance, and it does this because it wants to keep you restless. Yeah, it wants to keep you desiring. Rahu's hungry. Rahu, the mythological symbol for Rahu, is like a dragon's mouth with no stomach. So he keeps you hungry. He keeps you moving into analysis and refinement and looking after your health and well-being as well. Having strong routines, very, very important to you. And then, just to recap as well, Ketu and Pisces in the 10th house will call you into great surrender in this life, in even great surrender in your public servant role and dismantling the past. And you could do this with ease and with prestige because you brought in a lot of past life energy here. And together, this synergy of your chart, it creates an alchemist of intelligence, someone who is designed to merge practical mastery with esoteric awareness. So thank you so much, Chris, for sending me through your details and allowing me to read your Dharma's direction and your Dharma detailed.